It's 2021. I'm coming to the end of my postdoc and so confused about the next step. If you guys understand about the paradox of choice, when you have so many choices, sometimes you are so conflicted and you end up being paralyzed. You don't know which one to take. You don't know which option to go for. And I'm sure some of you guys understand. Like you have option A, B, and C, maybe even all the way to D, E, F. And you're like, can I take B? Can I take C? Will I regret? All those things. What I'm learning anyway. Lesson number 1 is that it's okay. And every time I'm conflicted, I watch Steve Jobs' commencement speech where he talked about most of the time, the dots do not connect looking forward. And so every time at that junction, the only thing that I do nowadays is ask myself, just take the option that you feel so strongly about, that you are curious about at that point, and then call it you are exploring, call it exploration phase. Go down that path, give your best, leave impact there, learn a lot, and then just leave that dot there. What you'll realize 5 years later, 10 years later, he said, is that when you look back, all those dots that seemed unrelated and all over the place, they will magically connect really well. As long as you are following your curiosity, just follow your curiosity, draw the dots perfectly well, leave them there. So anyway, at least that is what I'm learning in my career now. So in 2021, I had 2 paths that I was thinking after my post-PhD. I was thinking of remaining in the uni to be an assistant professor. At the end of the day, the entire reason why I did a PhD, I wanted to be a professor since when I was undergrad, actually, because I realized I enjoyed research, I enjoyed teaching, I enjoyed passing down knowledge, breaking down concepts, and I thought, you know what, I would one day would like to be a university professor, and so that is why I did a PhD. Anyway, down the line, I just realized that the fact that you have a PhD, you are not confined into one career path. Like there are just so million career paths out here. Number 2, I was considering transitioning into industry and becoming maybe a research engineer. For some of you who don't know, I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and then a PhD I still would call it mechanical engineering, although it's more of aerospace because I was doing heat transfer and cooling for aircraft applications or aircraft engine applications. So that is where I was coming from. And so I was just thinking of going into the industry, seeking those aerospace or mechanical engineering companies, and then working there as a research engineer, as a design engineer, whatever it is. Those were 2 options that I was seriously considering. It was 2021 and it was tail end of COVID. And so there were these, wherever I was at that time when I was doing the postdoc, there were these webinars about career transitions, etc. One day I was like, you know what, let me tune in. In that webinar, they were discussing or shedding more light into what they called management consulting. Up until that point, I had never heard, maybe I had heard about consulting, but I never seriously considered it because I used to think consulting is just for people with MBA or business degrees. So I had never paid a lot of attention to it. It just piqued my interest. I was like, let me remain in this session. When they went into like eligibility criteria or an ideal candidate, there most of these management consulting are looking for, I had never seen a profile that I felt like I fitted 100%. They talked about intellectual curiosity. My mind is always curious. I'm just curious. I'm always asking myself, how can we improve this thing? How can we change this thing? Why is this thing working like this? Can it work another way? Like I'm always asking why? And maybe that's why I really enjoyed engineering and always asking, how can we make things easier? How can we make all those? I remember one of the courses we did in undergrad, I think it was called machines, and they were telling us what machines are, like these things that make work easier. And literally, they were saying engineers are some of the laziest people around. They're just like, how can I make this thing easier? I don't want to do a lot of work. And literally, I don't know, actually, that is one of all the whys that I keep asking in my life. It's always, how can I make this thing easier? How can I make this thing work better? The entire reason why I'm here on YouTube, I'm like, how can I record the insights that I have and insights from other people and disseminate to as many people as possible? Literally, YouTube, I think I would consider it a machine. It's making things easier. It's making work easier. Anyway, intellectual curiosity. So they talked about someone with analytical skills, someone with communication skills, or passionate about communication. I am so passionate about communication. I love public speaking. I like breaking down concepts and speaking them effectively. They talked about someone with leadership skills and passionate about leadership. I still am. Talked about someone with some entrepreneurial drive, etc., or like interest in business. I was starting to be, there was another interest or curiosity in me about business. And at that point, I was running part-time while I was doing my postdoc. I was also tinkering with a startup. And so, needless to say, I was curious about business and the startup world. So they went through an ideal candidate, profile of an ideal candidate. And I was like, wait a minute. What the heck is this thing that I feel like I fit so perfectly well? And so after that webinar, my life changed. Now I was dealing with two options and I was already struggling to make decision between the two. Now there was a third option, management consulting. And I was like, what the heck is this thing? And so from that day in 2021, I went on, I searched. Little did I know that there is an entire forest out there. I thought it was just, I will just have to figure out maybe 2 or 3 trees. It's an entire forest. Like, it's just a big world out there, how to prepare. There is just like a lot to do if you want to be a management consultant, or if you're recruiting, especially in these top 3, they call them MBB. If you are recruiting in these top 3 firms, there is just a lot you need to do. I wasn't even aware of that. So I just went to YouTube, watched episodes, watched stories of people explaining how they went through the cases, they call them, practicing casing, practicing how to talk like a consultant, practicing all those things, and then just the entire process. I did not know how rigorous the thing was. And so anyway, because I had little knowledge, in 2021 I decided I put out application. Now at that point, the other 2 options that I was considering career-wise had kind of dropped down the list. And now management consulting all of a sudden became like, I was like, I'm really keen and interested in this thing. And so I started pursuing it. So I applied, I sent out my applications. I think I went all the way to the final round in one of the MBB companies. I didn't get it. I'm not surprised. When I look back now, I wasn't even prepared. My CV wasn't even structured the way they want CVs to be structured. There are a million things that I should have done back then in 2021. So I didn't succeed in 2021. Come 2022, I was like, I'll do whatever it needs to be done to at least have a strong chance of succeeding. And so I started with an internship in one of the MBBs. Luckily, I got in, and the rest is history, pretty much. So that is how someone with a PhD decided to branch out into management consulting. And in the coming episodes, I will be shedding more light about my own journey, tips and tricks and insights and lessons that I wish someone had told me. That hopefully, if you're someone with an advanced degree, a JD, MD, a PhD, a postdoc, and you are tinkering with this idea of management consulting, I'm happy to talk more about it. I will be hosting Masterclass on this, so I will leave a form in the description box. If you're interested, please drop your email, and then I will communicate more. Until the next episode, goodbye.